Today would have been Bruce Lee's 80th birthday. Uh, the dragon, the man, the myth, the legendary Jeet Kune Do founder and master, the man who brought martial arts and gung fu, Chinese boxing, and the way of the intercepting fist to the Western world. Sure, in the United States, karate was a thing. It was popular to a certain extent. And you had guys like Chuck Norris who were out there making a name for themselves. But Bruce Lee was an authentic Chinese man who came as a young man from China, from Hong Kong. Although he was born in the United States, he was a citizen of China for most of his young life up until he was a young adult in his early 20s. And we all know who Bruce Lee is, who he was, and that his legend has lived on for the past 47 years since his untimely passing. He um, he was a big star in China with movies like The Big Boss, Fists of Fury, and The Chinese Connection. He also had Return of the Dragon, or also known as Way of the Dragon, where he fights Chuck Norris famously in the Roman Colosseum. And of course, he was working on the movie Game of Death with his good friend and pupil, Kareem Abdul Jabbar. I have this here. I pulled it out of a magazine, and it was an article about how Bruce Lee had affected and influenced Kareem's life, and he left him a lasting gift. Um, and like most people my age, we discovered Bruce Lee off of, KTLA Channel 5 Saturday afternoon cinema. They showed the movies, and of course, as kids, it was very intriguing. And at that time, it kind of coincided with the re-emergence of the kung fu movie, the karate movie, as a staple and as a big box office draw, with actors who were bringing it back to the forefront, such as you had Jackie Chan, and you had Jean Claude Van Damme, and you had Steven Seagal, and it just kind of just recreated a whole new boom, and brought new life to the genre that Bruce Lee had made famous just a decade earlier. He tragically died in July of 1973, just 1 month prior to the release of his first big major studio project, which was Enter the Dragon, uh, produced and released by Warner Brothers. It was a big hit. It's probably his most popular and most well-rounded, most polished movie to this day. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to see the success. And he had the vision and he knew it was going to happen, but he wasn't really able to see it coming to fruition. See, he was working on Game of Death, and then he left to go do Enter the Dragon. That's why if you watch Game of Death, uh, the only really the only part of the movie that actually features Bruce Lee is probably the most important part, which we're all glad that he filmed that first, which was the end the ending act, the pagoda, the progression up the pagoda, where he fought different martial artists as he elevated up each level of the pagoda, finally culminating in his classic fight scene with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, where he kicks him in the chest and leaves the huge footprint. That's the famous yellow jumpsuit with the yellow nunchuck that Bruce Lee is known for. That Uma Thurman wore, that Quentin Tarantino emulated and paid homage to in the Kill Bill Volume One and Two. That you see martial law from the Tekken series wore that outfit. It says Bruce Lee is such an icon, and he did so much for the genre, and he's considered by many sort of a forefather of the modern MMA style because he bucked the traditional system. He faced a lot of flack from his own culture, his own Chinese culture, and the martial arts culture for teaching Westerners, non-Chinese, and showing them the ways, and he was always evolving. He never wanted to settle. He wanted to eliminate what didn't work and only keep what did. And he was never content with his own work. Be like water. He be like water in the sense that you adapt. You can flow. You can crash. Like he said, you put water in the cup, it becomes a cup. But also in the fact that he was always moving, always fresh, never stagnant. He didn't want any wasted movement. He was just a poet and an artist and a brilliant martial artist. And he was ahead of his time with his training methods and his dedication to the craft. Just a brilliant, brilliant man. Not just a martial artist, but a brilliant man. He had a brilliant mind, a beautiful poetic mind, and he wanted to unify cultures and learn from other cultures and teach other cultures about his culture, and just just a brilliant guy. And today would have been his 80th birthday, and all fans of action movies, martial arts movies, and fans of practitioners of the martial arts and mixed martial arts would all have him to thank for his influence. That's why he was even a character in a UFC game, a playable character in the UFC 2 game for the PlayStation 4. I mean, you wouldn't have any of these Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, none of this. That his movies made the format. They developed the format. He had Enter the Dragon. It was like Mr. Han. You go to this island and it's this tournament for your life. All the best martial artists are assembled onto this one fight island. Sound familiar? Fight Island. So all the martial artists are assembled on this fight island to determine who's the best. And then of course we know the plot. The guy's a got nefarious dealings. He's a drug dealer and he's doing all this other stuff. And the tournament is just a way for Bruce's character to get to the island as an undercover agent and reveal and stop what this guy's doing. But just everything he did, his influence on movies, his influence on professional fighting, his influence on video games. Just his philosophies, just a brilliant guy. And we love what Bruce Lee did for the fight game. And we love the poetic things that he brought to the table, everything about him. Jeet Kune Do, the man, the myth, the legend, Bruce Lee. He not only did he leave Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a lasting gift, but I feel like he left all of us who have benefited from his influence. He's left us all something. So on what today would have been his 80th birthday, if you're feeling it, watch a Bruce Lee film, watch a documentary. If you feel like training, whatever you feel like doing to honor the legacy, let it live on. It's a brilliant influence. It's a great influence, and it's one that I hope we recognize and honor for the next 47 years and beyond. And I know that I will teach the generations that come after me about Bruce Lee and how important his influence was. And I will always keep sharing who Bruce Lee was as a filmmaker, as a martial artist, as a poet, as a philosopher, and as a human being who truly did live an Unerus lifestyle. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all this heavenly glory.